Interesting info. Daniel in Texas, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hello, Alex. How you doing?
All right, sir.
With all of the threats against you, sounds like that are going on out there, I hope you have a very big bodyguard contingency.
No, I don't. I don't look behind my back when I'm walking through a store. I don't worry about anything. You know what? I'm a good person. I'm telling the truth. And, if somebody pulled a gun out on me in a parking lot and tried to kill me, I'd try to duck or get out of the way, but I'm not really worried about it. I'm committed to what I'm doing. But it just shows how twisted our government is, that in all these manuals, they're teaching them that I'm one of the main enemies, if not the main enemy. And that just shows who the real enemy is. It shows what's happened.
Yeah. Alex, you got God watching over you. I think that's why you don't have anything to worry about.
Well, you know what? If I do get killed or imprisoned or set up, that's what God wanted to happen. I'm really not worried about it. I can't live in fear, and I understand. I'm going to be honest. A few times I have had bodyguards. I've been planning events. We get death threats, and I was going to ignore it. And then a hotel manager called and said, "Look, there's this crazy guy here, and I'm one of your listeners, and he was talking threateningly about you, even when he was checking in." And then I had a bad feeling, so I got a local cop who I know off duty in plain clothes to come, and sure enough, the guy showed up and stood up at the back of the book people, this is years ago, and started pulling his hand out from a trench coat, acting like going bam, bam, like he was going to shoot me. But, I mean, that's the kind of stuff. But so if I do specifically have a threat, I'll protect myself. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. Alex, I'm prior military. It was back in the 70s, about 78, I believe it was. A base in Louisiana, Air Force Base there, had troops serving there that were foreign troops, and we were specifically instructed not to say anything to these troops. Do not salute them or anything if you think they're officers or stuff, but to be sure not to look at their faces even. Come to find out later, we found out that they were Iranian troops, of all things, getting training there on our base. Found that kind of unusual. Now, as far as the other day, I bumped into a U.S. soldier in a store here where I live the other day, and he's up here visiting from a base up north and doing some TDY duty down here at an Army base. He was telling me, I was just asking him how things were going, stuff like that, and asked him, I said, what are you hearing about, anything about gun confiscation? Is the military going to participate or anything like that? And he just kind of smiled and he says, I'm not. But he said, there are some very weird things going on at the base out there. And I said, well, like what? He said that there was hundreds of foreign troops at this base training on the door-to-door technique. And he, was very disturbed in the fact. And, of course, I thought, well, he might be just telling me that because he probably thinks that's what I want to hear. A week later, we went to a shopping center here, and there were Chinese troops everywhere in a parking lot. I mean, big numbers of Chinese troops. So I made it my business to go over to them and try to find out what in the world they're doing here. Some of them had name tags that they were from Singapore, and then some of them had name tags that they were from China. They said they were here for specialized training. I said, specialized training? I said, what kind of training y'all going to be doing? Well, they didn't want to answer. I said, are y'all doing what, just military training, or is it riot control or gun confiscation or what? And they all started kind of looking at each other and giggling and stuff, but one of them in the background gave it away because he was shaking his head up and down, yes.
Well, I've got video from 95, 96, 97, 98 in Louisiana. People can Google it. It's Cooperative Nugget. And that was Eastern European troops, and the general says, you're part of the New World Order, and in the drills, they're training to take on Americans.
Well, I definitely believe something's in the makings. I was prior militia, no longer in it, but I know that when we were in it, the feds, everybody was all over us with video cameras and stuff, and caused us a lot of trouble and stuff. But if they were scared back then, I know they're way scared now.
Daniel, anything else you want to add?
That's it, Alex. Take care. God bless America, and let's get prepared.
All right, more calls straight ahead. Tony, Fred, Terry, John, and others. In my stack, I'll get to it later if I have a chance, when we go live at prisonpundit.tv and show you a document cam shot of it. It says, the United States is one of the only countries in the world to permit militias. Permit. It's like, we permit you to have private property. We permit you to have children. We permit you to have your own money. We permit you to have a garden. And now I see all these cities talking about banning gardens because you might grow pot. I mean, we're living like prisoners in this country more and more. Because we've got a bunch of banks stealing trillions of dollars, doing whatever they want. They bought off our cities and counties. Crooks have moved in at every level of society. They know we're waking up to it, and they intend to go all the way and clamp down on us. We got James Traficant coming up. We'll continue with your phone calls as well, but let's go to Tony in Georgia. Tony, you're on the air.
Thank you for taking my call, Alex. Back in the early 1996, before the Olympics came to Georgia, we were all carried to Conyers, Georgia, to the horse ranch, and we were trained to keep doors in, shoot men, women, and children, and confiscate weapons. So what the rest of the guys have been telling you is accurate, but it's a little bit more, it's a little deeper than what everybody can imagine. This goes way back to the late 50s. Some of the contracts that the military was issuing out, privatizing to other agencies. I noticed that during that time, the training we had, we even had department heads from the Department of Education, Department of Corrections, you name it. They were all involved in it, and we were trained by one of the Israeli Mossad.
Well, that's actually been in the New York Daily News that for the last decade, the Mossad has been one of the main trainers of local police and, quote, counterterrorism forces.
I just thought I'd throw that in there, Alex. And,
well, to be specific, when and where was this?
This was back in the late spring of '96, before the Olympics came to Georgia.
And you were with the military or the police?
Well, I'm from military, but I was with the State Patrol.
You were in what?
With the Georgia State Patrol.
Okay, State Patrol. Right. And I mean, were you guys wondering why you were drilling to take on the American people?
Yes. Most of the guys just went along to get along. That's a normal thing. Just go along to get along. You know, like, don't worry about it. This will never happen here. But not me. I knew that it was coming. I could see it. I was raised in a military family. My great-uncle was the commanding officer. In fact, he was a general in Fort Benning, Georgia, so I had access to just about everything that was going on back when I was a child growing up, and I'm 60 years old now, so I've been in this battle for 44 years, and it's getting worse.
Well, now they're just... I know this has been going on for a long time. We've confirmed at least 30 years, but it's clearly accelerating and coming to a head. Do you agree?
I agree, and I believe that before this year's out, probably 1776 is going to reoccur.
Well, they're forcing that. They want an armed confrontation.
You're exactly right. They want an armed confrontation, and the reason they want people to be in the militia, to have permission to be in the militia so they can get names, phone numbers, the whole 9 yards, so they'll have a list. The way it is now is more secretive, and that's the way it should be.
Sounds like it's a beautiful day there in Georgia. I can hear the birds singing.
Oh, you better believe it. It's beautiful if they just quit putting chemtrails out.
Well, I mean, do you talk to any of your old state police buddies? Are they awake to what's happening?
The majority of them won't even acknowledge me anymore. There's a few that will, and I'm with another agency now. I won't say who they are. And out of 48 people, 6 of them are very much awake because of me.
Well, good job, and God bless you, and we really appreciate your call, Tony. Man, all these other callers, I hate to hear what they have to say. We got James Traficant coming up, but we'll get to your calls as well. Stay with us.